Welcome to the Tableau Healthcare and Life Sciences Summer Skills Series. I am Megan Kessler, CMO of Healthcare Life Sciences Americas for Tableau at Salesforce. Summer is a time to not only recharge yourself with vacation and fun, but also a time to recharge your mind. Over the next 2 weeks, the Summer Skills Series continues to feature Tableau solution engineers who will guide you through the most pressing needs of the healthcare and life sciences industry. A bit about our teachers today. Rebecca has been a solution engineer at Tableau for about 2 years, but was previously using Tableau in the healthcare and life sciences field for about a decade. She works with customers across the HLS industry, including providers and pharmaceutical companies. Rebecca lives in North Carolina with her husband and 2 young daughters. Austin is a principal solution engineer who has been with Tableau for 4.5 years. Austin, his wife, 2 daughters, and family cat are based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Austin worked in various analytics, strategy, and tech-related roles and started his career in consulting, primarily in life sciences. Today's session dives into how Tableau Next, Salesforce's revolutionary agentic analytics platform, transforms the way healthcare and life sciences organizations leverage their data within Salesforce Health Cloud, Life Sciences Cloud, and beyond. Our fantastic Tableau solution engineers, Austin and Rebecca, will showcase real-world use cases across patient services and commercial analytics, demonstrating how Tableau Next embedded in AI-powered capabilities enhance Health Cloud and Life Sciences Cloud's robust data models and workflows. Austin and Rebecca will specifically highlight the synergy across Tableau Next data layer, semantic layer, visualization layer, and action layer, enabling deeper patient and provider insights, optimized operations, and actionability. You'll see the art of the possible and walk away with resources and best practices to get started on your agentic analytics journey. So again, what you'll learn over this session: 1 is an understanding of the fundamentals of Tableau Next and its capabilities to integrate AI-powered insights and actions directly within your Salesforce Health Cloud and Life Sciences Cloud applications and workflows, driven by its innovative multi-layered architecture. And 2, you'll see the live demonstrations showcasing how embedded Tableau Next analytics can create powerful agentic data experiences for patient support, representatives, payers, marketing, and commercial sales team. And lastly, of course, we will have that Q&A to address all of these words and all the things you're about to learn to make sure you have the best knowledge for agentic AI. Wow. So Austin and Rebecca, I will now hand it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that great intro. I will get my screen share going and just want to start out with a thank you to those who are able to join and those who are watching us back, maybe virtually as well in the future. Really appreciate your time and your interest in these exciting new features that we're delivering across the Salesforce and Tableau ecosystem. Quick disclaimer here: as with many Salesforce presentations, we just want to ensure that customers are making any purchasing decisions off of currently available functionality. If we do start to talk about things like future features or stuff that's coming on roadmap. So my name is Austin Nessett. As Megan mentioned, I'm a principal solution engineer here at Tableau, and I'm partnering with Rebecca as well from our solution engineering organization on this conversation. Please feel free to drop questions in, but with that, we'll get started talking a little bit about the future of analytics for life sciences. Okay, so what is Tableau Next? That is really the crux of the session today, as you hopefully gathered from the invitation and the abstract. And really, Tableau Next is this kind of the architecture, if you will. It's the next generation of analytical products within Salesforce's ecosystem. And they're infused with a variety of new AI-driven experiences that we'll talk a little bit about today, and we'll also kind of showcase for you live in the demonstration. But And when it comes to the fundamental building blocks, just kind of wanting to set the stage here. At the bottom, there's what's called the data layer, and the data layer is underpinned by Salesforce Data Cloud. If you've worked in the Salesforce ecosystem before, that might sound familiar to you. Then there's a couple of new things. So Tableau Semantics is the semantic layer where you can do things like add your kind of business definitions to your data, generate metrics and KPIs, do various modeling as well, for analytic purposes, and also, as we'll talk about a little bit more momentarily, to help the agentic experiences in the platform be more intelligent as well. Then, of course, not going anywhere is the familiar Tableau drag and drop visualization experience. So building those best-in-class dashboards and charts in order to help people see and understand their data. And then finally, a couple more components here that are really new to the Tableau ecosystem are the action layer. So being able to, from your analytics, kick off into various activities that you may need to do. When you've actually identified an insight, I want to go do something about it now. So we'll actually show you a little bit of the types of actions you can take without swivel seating out of your analytics tool any longer. And then finally, of course, and very conspicuously, the agentic experiences. And so within Tableau, we'll talk a little bit more about these in a minute, but just to introduce them, we have sort of 3 out of the box, let's call them agent types. And that's Data Pro to help the analyst persona, Concierge and Inspector to help your business users or your executives with various Q&A types of use cases, and also with proactive alerting and monitoring of your data that is always on in the background. Okay, so to zoom in a little bit more, we just saw our spotlight on how Tableau Next's architectural building blocks kind of come together, but many of you have existing resources in Tableau or in other Salesforce clouds. And so I just kind of want to zoom out a little bit more and point out how Tableau Next is designed to be interoperable with those and to successfully handle your kind of diverse enterprise use cases. So you'll see, obviously, we've got Tableau Next here in the middle, but Tableau Next can connect into your other Salesforce clouds and then be embedded inside of those places where your users live, whether it's a patient services scenario where maybe you're using Health Cloud or Life Sciences Cloud or Service Cloud to handle those types of interactions. You can put your analytics right there where the users are. Or on the right-hand side here, also with, let's call it classic Tableau, being able to plug in Tableau Cloud or Tableau Server to the data layer and be able to share assets through Tableau's semantic modeling such that they're leverageable in either platform. So just a quick public service announcement, I guess, that Tableau is not going away. If you've got existing investments there, it's designed forward-looking to be interoperable. All right, so not only do many of your organizations have existing investments in Salesforce and Tableau resources, but you also have complex data estates, right? So how does Data Cloud, again, that foundational layer that we saw in that first stack slide, how does it help with that? So it starts off on the left-hand side by connecting all of your disparate enterprise data sources across the organization. Data Cloud's got close to 300 different connectors to these types of data sources. So it's able to become aware, let's say, of your enterprise data. And then it's able to harmonize that for a unified view of, whether that's an HCP, a patient, or any other entity of interest for your analytical use case, so that as we have different touch points with these HCPs, patients, et cetera, we're able to kind of piece together the puzzle on, what is that foundational unit of interest that we need to do some analytics on or ask Q&A about. Then, of course, once your data is unified, making sure that it's secure using all of Salesforce's trusted security platform and ecosystem. And then on the right-hand side, activating on that, we talked a little bit more about it on the previous slide, but making sure that we're not swivel seating out of our analytics tool in order to take action across either any of these different clouds within the Salesforce ecosystem, or maybe it's your MarTech ecosystem, being able to kick things off that then go downstream once you've identified an insight. You can take action there. Okay. So you heard me mention Tableau semantics, and why is this important? Why are we so focused on the semantic layer as a key part of the ecosystem? That's because right now you've got a data layer, right? You've also got a consumption layer where maybe I want to actually visualize the insights or take the actions we were talking about earlier. But you need a way to essentially connect those things intelligently, both for your human workforces and also for your digital labor or your agents, right? We're in the age of AI, and so that's extremely important in order to enhance the AI models and make them more robust. So the semantic layer gives us that standard representation of your corporate data. It puts things into your business lexicon, where my business user may not be asking for something in the language of cryptic database fields and query language, right? They're talking about things like sales or volume or units or visits to an HCP, right? So this allows, again, our human workforces and our digital workforces to understand the data that's being brought to them through the analytics platform. Another way to think about this that I like to use, I'm no neuroscientist, but you could kind of think of data cloud as sort of the central nervous system gathering signals, gathering inputs, and making the brain aware of stimuli. And then on the other hand, Tableau semantics really helping us to decode and make sense of those inputs, right? And also allowing and enabling things like processing and reasoning on top of those inputs that might be coming from all different source systems, as we saw on that data landscape slide. Okay, so what could this feel like in a real life use case? So talking about conversational AI here, and we've got a question, right? This HR professional is asking how we can improve employee retention. And if you just ask that to an LLM in sort of a generic context, right, the response is going to be not grounded in your enterprise data and enterprise terminology. So you could get an answer back that's kind of generic or theoretical. Whereas with the semantic layer kind of doing the heavy lifting of enriching those data sources with our business lexicon, with things like metadata, KPI definitions, et cetera, it's able to come back and bring us something that's much more contextually relevant, actionable, and insightful. So it really it makes the agentic conversational AI much more robust to get answers that are true in the context of your business. Okay, so that's where I will actually pause and hand it over to Rebecca, who's going to talk a little bit more about we just hit the foundations, but how do we actually experience this inside of Tableau in the future?
Yeah, thanks, Austin. So yeah, like Austin mentioned, we kind of set up our foundation here. You've put in the effort, you've got all of your data connected in Data Cloud, you've built out your semantic model, you have your business context. And so we can't stop there, right? We've got the data that we need, but what are we going to do with it? And so as Austin mentioned, kind of Tableau's bread and butter is this visualization layer. So that's still there. We're going to talk about what that looks like in the Tableau Next platform. But then on top of that visualization layer, now we're allowing our users to take action right within the platform, within the Salesforce platform. And all of this, on top of all of it, is kind of powered by Agentforce. So those pre-built analytic skills that allow agents to see all of these different layers that we've been talking about, and users to kind of access each of those different layers here. So talking about visualization, this should look, really similar to you if you are familiar with Tableau. This is the UI that we all know and love, drag and drop, fields on the left, columns and rows, different pills, creating different visualizations. And you still have that capability to make quick calculations, to add customization, really all of the same things that you kind of know and love at the basic level of creating on the fly visualizations, iterating through and customizing here. And so this visualization layer should look and feel really similar to what you're used to. And you will be able to kind of jump right in and create right off the bat. But then on top of that visualization layer, now we want to empower our users not just to see and understand our data, but also to act on it, to make decisions and have those decisions drive actions right within the platform. And so here's just an example of some of the things that you can do within Tableau Next to take action right within a dashboard. So navigating to a URL, pretty basic and something that you can already kind of do within Tableau. But now you can also make a record action within Salesforce. So think like navigate, not just navigate to a record, but create a new event, draft an email. You can trigger a flow within Salesforce. So if you're familiar with Salesforce flows, they can get really complex really quickly. All of this can kind of be automated for your user so that, for example, let's say you have a template for an email for a specific type of user. You can trigger all of that flow to use a template to then generate an email to a user, all without kind of that swivel chair that Austin's mentioning here. And so again, that actionable insight is really what we're going for. We've got this trusted foundation. You have built out this semantic layer. Now we're empowering our users to take action. And that's through this action layer, but it's also through the agents that have access to that semantic layer, not just what you're seeing on the dashboard, but all of the underlying data as well. And this can exist in all of the different clouds that we're talking about, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and we'll show you what that looks like as well. But just to touch a little bit more on the different agent skills that are available. And so Austin mentioned these are out of the box. And so you aren't having to go in and customize an agent and teach it how to understand data and what to do with it. All of these different skills come with the agent that is in Tableau Next. And so starting on the left with these analysts, you have this data pro skill. So think within modeling, suggesting relationships between different data objects, creating calculated fields just based on a natural language question. And then on the right, we've got these business user capabilities. And so concierge, if you've seen agents in Tableau Next, you've likely seen concierge. It's just that question and answer back and forth that an end user might be asking of a dashboard that's on their homepage. Like, hey, what am I seeing here? Why is this happening? That would be kind of concierge capabilities. And then inspector, which you can see currently in beta, is the ability to kind of deliver those proactive insights. So, hey, let me know, set up this alert if this particular KPI that I'm tracking goes higher or lower or whatever you really want to set up there. And so why are these Tableau Next agent skills important inside of the context of Agentforce? This is a little bit talking about that semantic layer you've built, right? You put all this effort into creating a semantic layer that has the business context, that understands the terms that you're using. If you are asking agents questions, so the example here is how many active leads are in my pipe? Maybe it doesn't know what active leads are. Maybe it doesn't know what trending is. And so it's going to give you a response, but it might really not be what you're looking for. And I kind of like to compare it to if you were to ask an analytic question of a business user who isn't a data analyst, they might not know how to answer you. But if you were to ask Tableau Next agents with these included analytic skills, or for example, if you were to ask a data analyst, they're going to give you a lot more context because they know the data behind it and they're able to use that data to answer your question. So not only do they have the business context because you've defined those fields for them, they can also give you insights and visualizations right within that conversation that you're having with the agent to say, hey, here are your active leads and it's trending and this is what that trend looks like. It can ask you clarifying questions. It can ask you maybe the next question that you want to ask. It can recommend next steps. And so again, all of that out of the box available with these Tableau Next agents. So instead of continue to talk about it, let's show you what that looks like within Salesforce here. So, and jump over to my Salesforce environment. This is my home page. We've got this dashboard that's built out for me. So my example here is looking at maybe this new drug that's on the market, Meconicept. And I've got a dashboard that's showing me prescriptions and market share. So I have these metrics across the top that have insights based on my data that's connected through my semantic layer. And then also have, a bar chart for low prescribing HCPs and then different therapies and their trends. And so this is something I look at every day, but maybe we're really pushing to sell Meconicept more, and I want to know where my lowest sales are happening over the last month. If I were to open up Agentforce here, and I'm just on this default agent, so not including any of those analytical skills, and I ask a question like, which ACP names had the lowest TRX over the last month? Some of these fields are specific to like my industry. TRX is kind of specific. I know that that means total prescription, but here we can see this default Agentforce doesn't have that business context that you would need to answer that question accurately. So I'm going to take that exact same question and I'm going to ask it to my analytics agent. That is that out of the box one that's within Tableau Next. And now when I ask that question, it is looking at my semantic model. It knows that I'm looking at this dashboard here, and this dashboard is built on data that was connected through Data Cloud. It's including all of that semantic model, so all of that business context, and it has those kind of analytic skills. And so as it looks through all of that data, it's going to be able to look at over the last month. It's telling me Dr. Grace Lee had the lowest total prescription. It's going to show me all of the lowest prescriptions. And so you can see there's a similar one here. I could always kind of filter and continue to look, but this is showing me now over the last month because I've added that additional context here. And so let's say, okay, Dr. Grace Lee has some pretty low prescriptions. I really want to encourage her, so I'm going to give her a visit. So I could ask a follow-up question. I've got recommended follow-up questions here. So top performing, average TRX, who had the highest, but I really just want to know which facility name is associated with Dr. Grace Lee. So again, facility name here, not something that's on the dashboard, but I know I want to go visit her. And because this dashboard's built on the semantic model that has additional fields in it, agent has access to those additional fields. I could always kind of go through, and you can see here, I've got this action set up for Dr. Lee that allows me to go to her record. So I could go to her account page and kind of investigate here. But instead I've asked agent, and agent's telling me, okay, Dr. Grace Lee is at UMass Memorial Health. And it's going to tell me that it got this answer based on the semantic model that I've set up. Okay, great. Maybe I'm going to go over to UMass. Maybe that's where I'm located, but maybe I know in the future, I'm kind of always going to want to know what facilities that these HCPs are at. And so let's go ahead and adjust this visualization on the fly. So when I hit explore, it's going to open up Tableau Next. This is just an app right within Salesforce. So you can go through the app launcher, or you can go from a dashboard you're in. This is going to open up my visualization for me. And when I hit edit, again, this should be a very similar look and feel. I can drag and drop the same that I've always been able to. I'm going to go ahead and search for a name. I could pull facility name over, and now I've got all the facility names. You can see that UMass is associated with Dr. Lee. I could also just, again, drag and drop. Maybe I want it to aggregate by facility name here. Same sorting functionality. Here's where that action button is available. So we can see that go to record that I showed you for the HCP name is where it's all built in. All of this is kind of attached now to that dashboard on the home page. So if I were to save this dashboard and go back to my home page, when I refresh, now I can see that facility name is showing up right within my dashboard. So that quickly, I'm kind of able to iterate on this dashboard here, make adjustments that are going to be useful to my business user. So all of this is great. We talked about how we can kind of use this end user. Austin's going to show you how you can get this all set up so that that semantic model is available to you to build all of it out.
Awesome. That was great, Rebecca. Thanks for showing us how it all kind of comes together in a reimagined experience, really, for your end users. And as Rebecca mentioned, I'm going to show you a little bit of how the sausage is made, right? Like, how did we get from raw data sitting outside of Salesforce potentially, or maybe inside of your CRM system, talking about rep behavior or market data, and how we go from that to something that's actually actionable and queryable and can be used to generate insight. Okay, so we're starting on the dashboard that you just saw. And what I can do is just hop over in the app launcher to Data Cloud. So if you're familiar with working with Salesforce or Data Cloud, this should be familiar territory to you, but we've got a variety of things we can do inside of Data Cloud, including look at data models or do Einstein predictions on our data, that type of thing. But where it all begins is setting up what we call a data stream, which is making Data Cloud aware of the data that sits upstream from us, right? Off platform. Maybe you've got something in Snowflake, like you see here, there's a couple of examples, or maybe you've got other Postgres repositories or things where your data is living. And we can connect to all of those data sources by just setting up a new connection. So I'll kind of show you how to configure this from scratch. So that launches this configuration wizard. And so I've got an ability to connect to any of those close to 300 different enterprise data sources. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of things that look familiar here, but for the purposes of this demo, I've just got a demo database set up on Postgres. And so once I choose my data source, I can click Next. And then I can browse through the tables that are included inside of that data source. And so what Rebecca showed you is kind of a use case that might be reminiscent of maybe some market data coming in from someplace like IQVIA or some other external data aggregator, right? So in this case, I've got a duplicate of the data source that she was sharing with you through the dashboard and the agent Q&A, this FACT2 pharma market data. So I'll select that one. It's just a carbon copy of what we saw before. And then I get a couple of wizard-driven screens that'll allow me to set up this, this data source. And so what I can do is I can rename the object to something that's maybe more intuitive, pharma market data. And then I can choose a couple of quick things that let Data Cloud know what type of data this is. In this case, it's prescriptions that have been written. So we'll kind of classify that as engagement data, but it could be master data for the HCP profiles, for example. So you might choose that, or it could be other data about the facility locations or something that Rebecca was showing you earlier. Then we can simply choose the time field that's in the data set, tell it what the primary key is. In this case, I've got a row ID in here that's going to serve that purpose. And then I can also let it know what the record modified date is. So for these interaction data sets, you may have various touch points with individuals who are of interest, whether it's patients or HCPs. And so we want our agents and our dashboards to know about that, of course. And then finally, we could just pick what the indicator is of the data source itself, if you have a field that tells where this is streaming in from, for example. Then I can activate as many fields as I like from the data source. So in this case, maybe I'll just go ahead and select all. And I can also set up additional metadata about, hey, what are these field types, right? Are they currencies, percentages, what have you? So we could do that as well, but just in the interest of time, I'll kind of click through and show you the last step here, which is letting Data Cloud know, how frequently do I want this refreshed and how? Do I want it to just kind of upsert incrementally, or do I want a full refresh? I can do that as well. And then I can just specify a frequency. So maybe I want that daily at a specific time of day. And then Data Cloud is now aware of this market data source. You can bring these things into Data Cloud either, let's call it physically, or you can federate them in through zero copy, which essentially just means we've set up the connection and we've entered this metadata, but the data is actually going to live where it is in Databricks or Snowflake or Postgres in this case. And then we would simply query it directly from the data source when we need it for a dashboard or for an agentic conversation. So you don't have to go through and sort of re-architect your data warehouse or kind of do some complex ETL to get your data into Data Cloud if you don't want to. You've got existing investments in enterprise data warehouses. We can leverage those where they are by just pointing Data Cloud to that data. Okay, so I'm actually going to click out of this since just like any good baking show, I already have a data stream set up, so we don't have to wait for it to refresh or anything. So I'll just close out of this example. And then what we're going to do is hop into that all-important semantic layer, which is up here at the top. Okay. So once I've brought my data into Data Cloud or pointed Data Cloud at it, in the case of zero copy, I've got the opportunity to set up that model that Rebecca was talking about, to encode that with the various metadata, maybe field descriptions and things that'll help my business users know what it is that they're looking at. There's a few different ways you can do that. You can leverage an existing semantic model if you've already built one and you kind of want to, let's call it, iterate off of it and maybe add additional data to it. Or you can bring something in via a data kit or start completely from scratch, which is what we'll do today. Okay, so once we start from scratch, you get this sort of wizard-driven walkthrough that allows you to go through either your data model objects in Data Cloud, your data lake objects, or even calculated fields, browse those and bring them into the modeling experience in the semantic layer. And so in this case, what I'm going to do is grab this demo duplicate of our pharma market data, and then I'm going to go grab some master data as well. So I've got some master data about the HCPs, about the locations where those HCPs work. And then I also have territory information that lets me know where my sales reps are aligned and kind of the geographic breakdowns there. All right, so we can give this a name, Summer Skills HLS. And I can add a description to the semantic model as well, just for posterity, for folks who may be working on this after I move on to my next project. But in the interest of time, we can just skip over that. And this will launch me into the editor, which is where I can, with clicks and out and no code, simply relate these objects to one another, create derivative objects like calculated fields, and also build those metrics that you saw at the top of Rebecca's dashboard there that have all of that really cool AI-driven insight that's breaking down the metric over time, telling us what the prediction band is, et cetera. And of course, I'm sure it probably seems like that was a lot of work to do, right? But not only do we have AI in the front-end user experience, we also have what we call that data pro skill for our agent to help us with the data preparation and for creating calculated fields and things. And so you'll see I get this pop-up over here where I can actually go ahead and turn on the suggested relationships, and we'll auto-detect relationships between the different fields. So I'm just going to, for visual purposes, put my market data in the middle. Then I have this HCP and location data. I've got some territory data as well. And these relationships show up under suggestions as this dotted line here that we can then click on and inspect. Just make sure that it looks right. It's like, hey, HCP ID equals HCP ID. Cool, that looks reasonable. Let's go ahead and apply that suggested relationship. Same thing with locations. Let's have a look here. Location ID equals location ID. Pretty straightforward. Cool. Then the last thing that we'll want to do If the agent doesn't detect a relationship, or maybe we want to specify a relationship that's a little bit more complex, or we have some business or database understanding that we need to make sure gets into this, we can do that as well. So I've got the territories, and I can go ahead and just write this in here as well. I know I've got a territory ID. I can go ahead and add that. If I have multiple join conditions, I can also add those here. So maybe it's territory and date or something is the combination of things that make up this relationship. I could do that as well. But this one's pretty simple. Then I just click apply, and I've got my data model set up, right? Just in a minute or two here, using the help of the Data Pro agent, I'm able to set up my data model, and then I can start to prepare it for analysis. So what are a couple of things that we might want to do when we're building out an analysis? The first one is to help the agent know if folks are going to be interacting with that concierge, that conversational AI agent, help the agent know really like how should I answer questions, right? So we have this concept in semantics called business preferences. And this is a place where you can give instructions about how this semantic model should be used. So you might want to tell the agent to, when it's using this data source, if somebody asks about total prescriptions, let's use the TRX field, right? Total RX. And maybe if somebody wants to ask about Meconicept, our fictional therapy we were talking about earlier, and they want to understand new prescriptions, let's make sure that we answer that using the Meconicept TRX metric that we'll set up. And then the same thing with new prescriptions, right? If somebody has a question about new prescriptions, let's make sure that we're using the Meconicept NRX metric. Oops, go ahead and get my formatting screwed up. But this set of instructions can be as extensive as you'd like it to be, but it's just really giving the agent some guide rails about how to handle Q&A in the case that maybe something comes in that's a little ambiguous, or that they're not asking about a field by name, right? So I can save that. And that's my business preferences. Again, just additional metadata that helps make our agents more intelligent as they're interacting with this. So that's one thing that I may want to do in order to enrich my data model. A second thing that I might want to do is actually create a calculated field, right? Maybe I have a derived metric or a KPI that I need to include here. And so I can do that as well. Whoops, there go my data objects. So I can actually click on new, and this is where I can set up those metrics, which we'll see in a moment, but I can also launch a calculated field here. And calculation syntax can be a little bit tricky sometimes, and I know what I want to do, but maybe I have to do a little searching on the web to make sure I get the right syntax into the formula field. We can accelerate all of that with the Data Pro skill as well for our agent. And so if I expand on this box at the top that says draft with Einstein, I can just simply describe in natural language the calculation that I want to create, and I have the agent take a stab at that for me. So can you help me write a calculated field that calculates the percent of total TRX represented by the Meconicept product? Okay, so I've described my calculation, and if I just click on the Draft with Einstein button, it's going to come back to actually do a couple of things here. The first one is to suggest the actual syntax of the formula that it's going to use in the calculated field. So I'll naturally want to inspect that, so I can expand it and just kind of take a look. So it's telling me sum if Meconicept is product, and do that for the TRX field. Okay, I want to sum my total RX from Meconicept. That seems logical. Divide that by the sum of the total RX across the entire market share data set. Cool, that seems like it makes sense, right? And we can even validate the calculation as well, run a quick check on it, make sure that that looks good. It's come back with a check mark, so We're okay. That's a valid calculation. So that's one thing that the agent does for us. The other things that I want to point out here is that it's actually suggesting for me a name, and then also based on the description, a type of field, including the data type. So it's correctly identified that it's a percent of total calculation. But hey, maybe I don't like this AI-driven field name. I can actually just say Meconishep market share and click save. And really quickly, that's going to show up over on the left-hand side in the pane, and I'll have access to either create metrics off of this or to use it in visualizations in the future. Again, enhancing our speed from raw data to insight by using the agentic experiences, and Austin's not going out and searching on Stack Overflow to figure out this calculation, right? All right. So one last thing that I want to show about this semantic modeling, and that is the metric definition. So every organization has KPIs, right, that are kind of the high level things that I need to know in order to understand if my operations are running smoothly or not. And naturally, we want to make sure that we're able to kind of slice and dice those in different ways that we can identify like different drivers and things. And so in this case, we want to have a metric for Meconishep market share. Helps if you can spell correctly. And I can add a description here, the share of total market prescriptions, ... right? I would say for Meconishep, et cetera. And then if I click on next, I get walked through this very step-by-step wizard-driven process to set up a metric like the one that you saw at the top of the dashboard a little bit earlier. And that all looks very complex. There's a lot going on, but we're automating a bunch of it. And so I simply come in and select the field from my data source that I want to track. In this case, it's Meconishep market share. Then I can also specify a couple of things about this if I want to make the AI even more intelligent about drawing insights from this. So in this case, is up good in the case of market share, or is up bad in the case of software defects or something? I can encode that here as well. I can also filter things within the measure setup. This case, I'll leave it plain vanilla. Then I simply tell it what's the date field in our data set. And then I can give it a couple of other instructions about things that might be interesting to my end user for how they might want to break this down. So stands to reason that we might want to know how we're doing with market share by sales rep or by state. Maybe we'd want to understand it by the facility name, if there's different trends there, city, HCP name. I can add various different dimensions that are inside of my data set, which will then allow the automated insights to kind of give me even more granular and interesting breakdowns of what's happening with the metric over time. I can also tell it if I've got record level data in here or if it's aggregated. And in this case, I've got row level data here. So I think I've got that row ID field. And I can turn on this toggle in order to let the AI know, hey, these are record level information that are flowing in. And so it can also help me with things like outlier detection if something's kind of going out of range. Okay, last step. I've got a series of insights in this final step before we save the metric that I can turn off or on. And again, these are just simple toggles, and then the algorithms sort of do the rest. So in this case, I want to turn on that record level outliers identification. And then these are the types of things that we can identify with our insights layer using the autonomous AI. So it'll understand things like the trend changes, what are the top contributors to our trend, what's driving it underneath, helping us understand if it's in or outside of this predicted range of that sort of light blue shading, all of that fun stuff. And again, it's all just a couple of little toggles that you turn off or on, and then you can also give it a little bit more description here. So maybe I want to say prescription, and then refer to plurals as prescriptions. Save that. And now this metric is going to be available to me to use on dashboards, and it's going to give me those automated insights that you saw in Rebecca's demonstration. Okay, so now we've got our semantic model. What can we do from here? So we want to give this as much information as possible in like a real business use case. So we've added the ability to include things like descriptions of the fields that will help when people are having conversations with the AI agent. And also will help with maybe another analyst who has to come back and rework this model in the future or extend it or something. We can leave these breadcrumbs here. I won't make you watch me type in field descriptions for all of these, but suffice it to say, as much as you can put in there just makes the model more robust for the conversational AI. Okay, so next thing that I want to do is maybe I want to arrange all of this into a dashboard like we saw a little bit earlier. So I can hop into Tableau Next once I've actually generated my semantic model. I've got my source data. And what I can do is all of the content that's inside of the Tableau environment can be organized into what we call workspaces. And so I'm going to call this one Summer Skills, Austin. And we'll create a new workspace here. And then when I first open the workspace, it's going to ask me if I want to add existing assets. So maybe I've got a dashboard that I just want to kind of extend or riff off of, or maybe I just want to connect to new data. I can also upload files and things here. But in this case, I want to add an existing asset. We had summer skills, I think is what I named that semantic model. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we can go ahead and select that semantic model. And now I've got my workspace canvas here where I've got a variety of different asset types from dashboards to vizzes to semantic models. And I can start to sort of mix and match these into an analysis. So if I want to, I can add a new visualization here. And maybe we want to just use that summer skills semantic model that we just leveraged. And this is where, again, that very familiar experience is going to come through from what you're used to using in Tableau, which is the data pane over here on the left-hand side, your marks card, of course, the rows and column shelves where you can put the data pills in order to come up with something insightful. And so, you know, maybe where I just want to start is a simple visualization of something like, let's go state. And let's take, how about TRX? Sum up the TRX by state. And okay, just in the interest of time, let's leave it relatively simple here. We've created one basic visualization. Let's call this Summer Skills Viz. Okay, awesome. So if I go ahead and save that and head back into my workspace, you'll see now I've got this viz here as well. So the assets kind of collect into the workspace. And then, as I mentioned before, we can kind of compose those into other assets. Like if I wanted to add a new dashboard, I can launch into a blank dashboard and I can start to arrange some of these things that we've seen over the last hour. So right up at the top, I can grab the visualization and stick it down there on the canvas. Then I just select which visualization from my workspace I want to use. If I have multiple, of course, this would be a long list. In this case, it was just that sum of TRX by state. And I can resize this, right? Make sure that it's you know, taking up the right amount of space. And then I can start to add other things in here, like maybe metrics. Whoops. Let's go ahead and set the metric up there. Let's give ourselves a little bit more real estate. Maybe I want to add a metric to our dashboard as well. So I'm going to select that same semantic model we were just building. And then it's going to list out for me the different metrics that we've created inside of that semantic model and make those available for me to include in my viz as well. Okay, so I'll select that market share metric. We'll add that here to the dashboard. Of course, there's a variety of different formatting things that we can do as well. but you can see how I can kind of control how this actually displays. And then I can also control the interactivity across, right? If I want my metric to receive filters from the dashboard when I click across things, or if I want to show various aspects of this metric card as well, I can control that as well. Maybe I want to turn off the insight summary. Maybe I want to turn that back on. I've got fine-grained control over what I want to include in my dashboard. But I think I'll pause here because I want to make sure we've got some time for some live Q&A here at the close of our session. But hopefully we've given you a sense for how you can go very quickly from raw data to an end user experience that's AI driven and that's much more kind of intelligent, I guess, for this new phase of analytics that we're all in.
Amazing, Austin and Rebecca. Well, while everybody, their minds are blown and they're refocusing, I have a question here for you. How does Concierge differ from the standard Agentforce employee agent?
Yeah, thank you for that. Love the question. Rebecca, you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So Concierge is an Agentforce agent. It is built using Agentforce. And if you're familiar with Agent Builder at all, yeah, actually perfect. You can think about it as an agent with very specific topics and actions for data analytics. And so those topics and actions are pre-built and available within that agent, which is different than kind of an Agentforce agent that you have to specify instructions and build out the topics and potentially the actions yourself. Those topics and actions are also available to add to other agents if that's something that you want to do. But yeah, I think just thinking about it as out of the box with these analytics skills and specifically topics and actions available to them is kind of that differentiation there.
Thank you. And I have one more, and unless I missed any, but how does the AI agent work if the business glossary descriptions and acronyms are stored in something like Calibra? Can this agent help that to extract that and display or populate in Tableau report/dashboard? Did you get all that?
Yeah, so this is one that comes up from time to time when we're talking to customers. They have an enterprise data catalog, maybe. So when it comes to Data Cloud, the fundamental strategy is API first. So we do have the ability to plug into other platforms and bring data in, whether that's metadata or from other places. And then of course, going back to slide number 2 or 3 from the presentation, bit of a forward-looking statement. I believe I have heard some things that product is working on in terms of like specific catalog or semantic layer integrations with other technologies as well. So maybe some more to come on that front as well.
Well, thank you to you both, and for everyone on the line and watching digitally. We will email you the follow-up resources inclusive of this recording. Austin and Rebecca will be CC'd if you have any further questions and dive in with your own interactive demo that will also be supplying to you. Thank you so much for joining and have a great rest of your summer.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate your time.